Hello again, and welcome to my musings and ponderings on all things autism, ADHD, and many other friends that come along for the ride. As I always say, neurodifferences, some we're born with and some are acquired through life. So trauma, anxiety, depression, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, many more are still neurological differences. Childhood trauma is well documented to rewire the brain, and so there are lots of us who see and hear and feel the world differently, probably far more than actually realise. And that's what I wanted to think about today, is how do we know? How do we know what we don't know? Why didn't I know for 50 years who I was and why? Well, because there's too many stereotypes. I'm totally guilty of believing the stereotypes that range from Forrest Gump to Rain Man, and especially because they were male orientated. But even so, I have family members that I should have recognised neurological differences in, but I didn't know what any of that was about because there's not enough information out there, and there's information now between ourselves. If I talk to other people with neurological differences, we then start to be researchers because you want to learn about yourself. If you suddenly find out that actually you come from a completely different planet, you go and try and find books about that planet. But there's still not enough mainstream. There's not enough you could just simply access until you get into this world. So many people must be wandering around, like I was, not recognising who they are and why. And it's for another day, but does knowing make it better? Well, that's very complicated. Yes and no, but definitely yes, because the alternative is worse. Because now at least I know what's happening to me is because I'm who I am, and actually I can't keep blaming it on external forces. I think I've discussed this before, but I used to find myself in a social situation, or perhaps a workplace situation or a restaurant, anything, and I would presume that the reason I couldn't cope, felt like bursting into tears, felt like running away, was because the people didn't like me. So I might actually cause an argument to get out of there, or I might leave a job. I would presume something external, and I never would have thought, well, it's because there's too much in here. There's bright lights, there's clutter. For me, if there's mess, wires, I can't look at bins, makes me actually feel sick. Well, worse actually. It's really, you wouldn't think that. You wouldn't think, okay, I'm actually being overloaded because there's too much to see, too much is dirty, too much is messy, too much to hear, too much to feel, and this is causing me pain. You would never think that, because it sounds absolutely crazy. But it isn't crazy. You know, the thing with sensory differences that we have, it might sound unbelievable, but it isn't. And I wish people, that's a really big problem, and people just, I think you're probably making that a well, no, you can't feel that, can you? The kids that scream when they're having their hair cut, it really hurts me to have my nails cut. Hurts. And everyone says, well, it can't. It can't. Well, it can. It can though, because it's happening to me. So it's really weird. So what we need to do, all of us, is we need to get something together that's kind of a recognition and identification, so other people can find it and, oh, okay, maybe this is where I fit in, rather than always worrying why you don't fit in. And why didn't I know? I knew I was different, and I knew I didn't fit in, and I became the most ridiculous, over-the-top people pleaser, which I haven't really been able to switch off, because I thought they'd like me better, didn't stop trying. There seems to be, there's a book by Alice Miller about the drama of being a child, and I started reading that actually because I thought it was adoption, which has caused me a lot of trauma, but, you know, you look for anything, don't you? People want to rationalise and find blame things. Big problem in society at the minute. But she says that children experiencing trauma or neglect, you either become the star or the scapegoat. So I have a non-biological adopted with me brother. He became the scapegoat, very troubled life, and I became the star. So the more I did, the more I thought they would like me. The more I was going to be talented at school, I thought people would like me. So I pushed that way. And why didn't I know? Well, I honestly, and this sounds a little arrogant, I thought everybody really wanted to kind of be out there and honest and fighting for justice and telling the truth and kind of being a bit bouncy and crazy. I thought everybody wanted to be that, but some people just didn't have the confidence. I didn't think I was better. I just thought, oh, these are things I can do. So I had no idea that these are things most people don't want to do, and these are things that often are found unpalatable. I didn't know until I read books designed for parents of newly diagnosed children. I was interested, saying things like, you try and help them not to jump in, try and help them not to be too over-exuberant. I don't agree with any of that anyway. You should be yourself, and I hate all this try and make you neurotypical in order to survive. But this is why we need to change things, because until neurotypicals, the people who have the more predominant neurotype, more commonly found, as in frequent, until they understand, we're just going to be fighting this constant battle of the myths and the misconceptions and the misunderstanding. So what do we all experience? My restaurant thing, just I discussed that, but we mask so much that we might not even acknowledge ourselves. What is that feeling inside? Where's it coming from? Is it coming from noise, lights? Is it because my clothes hurt? Is it because there's a scene in The Big Bang, and I know some people don't like it and it's controversial and it's stereotypes, but I really like some of the lines they give Sheldon. And Sheldon first met Penny, another stereotype I know, problematic, and she asks if he's going to sit down, and he says, well, no, because I don't know which chair catches the light, what I'll see, what my peripheral will see, if there's a draft coming through, what noises I will hear, I haven't experimented with all of this yet. And that is completely me. And a final one before I overload today. Lots of people with neurological, differently wired minds can easily become sort of rabbit in the headlights, mutism, selective mutism, when in fear or anxiety or just trying to cope. I experienced that, but more so for me is a situation which is described in the book Neurotribes, the book that details the history of autism by Steve Silberman, and it's the opposite. So my form of calming down, emotional, trying to regulate, is to narrate everything over the top, which annoys people and also sounds like I'm being very critical. So perhaps if we've gone to a hotel and it doesn't really matter if it's not very nice or it is nice, if I can't feel comfortable, I can't calm down, so I comment on everything, don't like that, don't like that, don't like the curtains, and there's that. I now know what I'm doing. So now I can say, okay, hang on, just bear with me. I've got to talk this through to calm myself down. I'll be the same in an airport. I've got to keep talking. But for 50 years, everybody just thought I was ungrateful and just obsessed with moaning about what I don't like. I didn't know. Apparently it is a form of stimming. I don't like that word. It just doesn't sit well with me. Emotional regulation when I get dysregulated. And the dysregulation needs explaining again to neurotypicals, because they just presume that we're over anxious or a bit irritated, and it isn't like that at all. So I'll do something else on emotional dysregulation. So we need recognition and identification for people to find themselves and know who they are and why. And then it's difficult. Then there's a grieving. The older you are, the more you could have lived your life differently. I think I find that really difficult every day, looking back. And because my mind time travels, I'm kind of past, present and future all of the time, because it just jumps. I call it my never-ending filing cabinet. So part of that's complex post-traumatic stress and PTSD as well, but part of my autistic brain, nothing really is filed away in the distance, which I believe neurotypicals can do. Apparently it goes up the pipe into the amygdala and is filed like a distant photograph. Mine's a big filing cabinet, so the slightest memory of or recognition or trigger goes straight to the file, noisy restaurant, and a whoosh, I've got all of them. And it's like a tsunami, because it doesn't stop. And I can't control it. I'm not trying to remember that person, that face. My brain goes, oh, there's a filing cabinet, let's go and get that out. And again, at least I now know what's happening to me. So does it make it better? Only kinda, but I think the mental health, the physical health of people that don't know and have spent their whole life searching, actually there is a place you belong, and if there was better recognition and identification, and we all worked together more and somehow encouraged workplaces, healthcare specialists, educators, parents to know more from the inside out, neurodifferences from the inside out, not prescriptive, not diagnostic, not the big lists of negatives that we all get. And nobody wants to look up a list of what you can't do, what you're not doing well, as determined by somebody else's criteria in life. Then you feel like you're going, well, that's going to cause trauma, isn't it? We need to focus on what we can do, who we are, what we add. And let's be honest, great minds, great thinkers, great challengers, great changers, if you go through history and then just do a quick sweep now, they're minds that are neurodifferent. They really, really are. And I want us to allow more people to recognise themselves, and then there'll be more of us to fit in with, won't there? So if anybody wants to work on this recognition, identification, it's something I really think needs many, many, many contributions, because I only know about me, and obviously I talk to other people and I read lots of books and see lots of similarities, but nevertheless I don't know what I don't know. And as Hans Rosling, who I love, who wrote Factfulness, says, we'd be in a better place if we were all prepared to admit being wrong and then to learn things with a childlike sense of awe and wonder. Not getting defensive, not getting accusational, none of this fighting, attacking nonsense, just literally learning new things with like, wow, I didn't know that. Fair enough. Wouldn't that be a good place to be? So any ideas, any suggestions, you know where to find me. Thank you for listening again today, and let's see if we can change the world. It's not too much to ask, is it?